welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you live from Miami at Exchange ETF Experience, where we're meeting with the top thought leaders and innovators in the ETF space. Joining me for this segment, we have McClurg, Chief Investment Officer over at Valkyrie, to discuss thematic ETF exposure to Bitcoin, everyone's favorite topic on Trade Talks. It is great to see you in person. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks, Jill. So thank you so much for having me in person as well.
Yeah, you got it. Tell us about the Valkyrie family of thematic ETFs that provide that indirect exposure to Bitcoin as an alternative asset class.
Yeah, so first of all, we have the Valkyrie Bitcoin Futures ETF, which holds Bitcoin futures. And then we have one that holds Bitcoin miners. And then we have another one where we invest in companies that hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet and have other exposures to Bitcoin itself.
So I guess the billion-dollar question is it a matter of when, not if, when we'll see a spot Bitcoin ETF?
I think we will see one. We certainly won't see one this year. Chairman Gensler has been very clear that until the Bitcoin exchanges fall under the SEC's purview, they're not going to approve a Bitcoin spot ETF. And that process takes at least a year. So a year from now, maybe longer than that, probably.
When you think about the regulatory framework strategy around digital assets, is it a good thing that we're seeing increased regulation? What does it mean for the space overall?
I think it's a great thing that we're seeing increased regulation and increased attention from regulators. The more comfort we get and the more clarity we get, the more institutional clients are going to come into the space. And by the way, they're not going to come in through ETFs likely, they're going to come in through private products.
Right, right. And my last question to you is, what do we think about mass adoption from an institutional perspective when it comes to Bitcoin and crypto in general?
Yeah, well, I think the first step really is all of these regulations, regulatory clarity around Bitcoin. It doesn't mean that we have to have a Bitcoin ETF for that to happen, but as this clarity occurs, we're already seeing insurance companies, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds. That's the most money in the world, and they're coming into this space, and that's really what we're preparing for.
All right, Steve, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thanks, Joe.